either like an edge or a 3-tech, possibly a cornerback. And then in round 3, I definitely want us to at least hit a wide receiver by that point.
Yeah.
That's just me personally.
That's the other thing, too, as Kevin says here. I think if we get a 3-tech and the D-line gets pressure, I'd wait 3 or 4 rounds for DB. I agree with you. If it just kind of falls into place just right. But let me give you an example. Like at 23, I'd be okay with corner. If somehow Will Johnson from Michigan fell to us at 23, hell yeah, run the card up there. I'd be okay with it. Jahdae Barron is in the 17 spot on our board. The Packers have met with him. Listen, they know Jahdae Barron ain't lasted until the second round, so there's got to be a reason they met with him. They're trying to figure out, is he worth that 23rd pick, right? And he may end up being a top 30 visit. Who knows? So that's another corner. To me, those are the only 2 corners that I would be okay with taking at the 23rd pick. Everyone else, if it comes down to Siobhan Ravel Jr., obviously battled the injury last year. I think he's got a hell of a story. I think he loves the game of football. There's no doubt about that. But he's in the 27 spot, so it'd be a little bit of a reach for us. And with that injury, you never really know how that's going to play out. So I think you just got to focus on the trenches, man. And, Al Davis 101, which was also many of the people that coached under Al Davis and were administrators under Al Davis, one of which, Ron Wolf, kind of comes from that same lineage. You kind of build your team around, who do we have to beat this year, right? Like the Packers should be looking at it like, where did we get knocked out in the playoffs? Okay, we got beat by the Super Bowl champs, the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, why did we lose that game? What? Because we didn't have a cornerback. And Ja was out. You know what I'm saying? It was because we got beat up in the trenches, specifically on the offensive line. So that's got to be in the back of your mind. It does, man. You got to get that right. So, and again, that's why we asked the question we let off here, the poll question. Let's see if we get an update on that. Yeah, draft his replacement is leading the way at 40% here on YouTube. And then move Elton Jenkins to center is second place with 32%. So if you're going to draft him, we've also got to be prepared for that draft pick to not hit right away, just like Josh Myers. Josh Myers never really did hit, And if that's the case, we get in the playoffs again next year and get our ass kicked in the trenches. We can't be sitting here going, I can't believe this happened again. The writing was on the wall. That's why I'm more like, what if we did kick Elton to center? Because that's the other thing. I know there's many people that don't like that idea, and they're like, he hasn't got that many, or he hasn't been good at center. How many snaps has he gotten at center in the pros? Like he hasn't got to go through training camp as a center either. You know what I mean? So I think that comes into play a little bit too. But I don't know. You got anything you want to add to that? Savion Williams, I looked him up here as well. I had him pulled up and I went away from it. I was going to give you guys an idea of where he is. Savion Williams, wide receiver out of TCU. He was at the Senior Bowl. The Packers have not met with him, but he's in the 96th spot for us. So that might be around the 3rd round that our board is showing where he could potentially be, So, all right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, just Savion Williams, I think his biggest knock was that he has a little bit of a drop issue. Not massive, but definitely compared to the other 2, it's something to take in consideration. But he has freakishly large hands. He's like in the 90th percentile for how big his hands are. So you always like seeing that.
Got it. All right. Up next, I said, does Darius Slay have one more good year in him? Looks like Adam Schefter tweeted out, Darius Slay will, in fact, be designated a post-June 1 release, saving the Eagles $4.3 million against the cap. Here are his PFF grades over the course of his career. 50, 70, 78, 80, 80, 75, 56, 62, 81, 73, 66, 73. So you can look at this a number of different ways. You can go, man, his ceiling is 81, his floor is in the 50s. But then if you look at it over the course of the last 4 years, you go 81, 73, 66, 73, not bad. Over the last 2 years, he hasn't hit that 80 mark according to PFF in 3 years, Jacob. So I don't know how you feel about this. I don't know how much money he would warrant on the open market. Again, this is Darius Slay from the Philadelphia Eagles. What do you think, man? Would you be interested in signing him? And did he automatically kind of propel himself up as one of the top free agent cornerbacks in this year's free agents?
I would be interested for sure if the money was right. We watched him a long time in Detroit. We've obviously seen him lately in Philly, and I liked the way he played. He was a physical guy. I would honestly love it if we could get him for the right price. Mm-hmm. I don't know what he would dictate. I don't know if you have anything on him, what his projected salary would be like from Spot Track or something like that. But I still fear I'm such a cheap dude, man. And so anything over 10 mil for him, I just don't know if I'd be comfortable with. And then is he more of an outside guy? Is he more of a slot? Is he a safety hybrid lately? Like, where have they been utilizing him lately?
Right. Yeah, he is not on Spot Track's free agent list yet.
Okay.
And I'm sure they won't have a market value for him because he was under contract. In terms of where he lined up, let me see if I can search that real quick. So let's go. Darius.
I really like his coverage grades as well. I love his tackle grades for being a corner. I always liked that about him, that he felt like a more physical type cornerback, one that wasn't afraid to go and get his head dirty and come up and play the run and all that kind of stuff. Run defense grades aren't as great, but he's a corner. They're not going to always be spectacular, but
he's definitely an outside corner. Definitely.
Okay. I'd be all right with it, man.
All right. There you go. Obviously for the right price. So,
yeah.
All right, moving along here. You guys know I've been very vocal this offseason. When many people were talking about T. Higgins, I was saying Chris Godwin was my guy. I just tweeted this out. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers reportedly do not plan on franchise tagging wide receiver Chris Godwin. Now, keep in mind, guys, that doesn't mean they're not going to re-sign him, right? It's just saying they're not going to put the franchise tag on him. If they don't work out a deal before free agency opens, they'll let him test the market. And then obviously if he comes back with a deal that they like, then they can match it and he can stay in Tampa. But I've said since January, of all the potential options for the Packers to add a receiver, he is hands down my favorite. Highly unlikely, but I would love this move. And the ankle is healthy. So look at these PFF grades here. I don't know if you can see that well or not. Here we go. So starting in 2017, 81, 80, 90, 76, 81, 75, 77, 86. Last year, before he got hurt, he played 397 snaps before they demolished that ankle last year. So if there was any chance that injury was going to linger on him, I would be worried. It sounds like he's going to be fine, good to go. What would you be willing to pay for somebody like that, man? Because this is what I was talking about with the whole DK Metcalf talk. Like if we're going to trade for DK Metcalf, which obviously it seems like that has kind of fizzled out now, that rumor. If you were going to trade for him and pay him $25 to $30 million a year, I'd much rather give Chris Godwin $20 million a year for someone who I feel like has been way, way more productive than DK Metcalf.
Yeah, I mean that's consistency right there. And I agree. I'd be much more comfortable paying the guy the money if I mean, what is that? His worst year ever was a 75-7.
Right.
Okay, I'll take that. I think that, like you said, that would be by far the most comfortable signing that we could make that I'd be on board with.
Yeah, and if you looked at the Buccaneer statistics here, just to kind of see where he was at, it's kind of hard to. Let me see if I can pull up his career stats. I don't know if I can. Yeah, here we go. Just to kind of put it along with PFF grades, okay? Here is receiving yards starting in 2018. 842 yards with 7 touchdowns. 1,333 yards with 9 touchdowns. 840 yards with 7 touchdowns. Only played 12 games that year, though. 1,103 yards with 5 touchdowns. 1,023 yards with only 3 touchdowns. 1,024 yards with only 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans was obviously the go-to touchdown dude in that offense. And, of course, last year getting hurt and only playing in 7 games, 576 yards with 5 touchdowns. But keep this in mind. If he hadn't got hurt and he had played, let's just say 14 games, so let's double the statistics, he would have finished with over 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns last year. That would have been the most touchdowns he's had in his entire career. So I don't know how you feel about it, but that's the dude that sticks out to me for sure.
You have to take, again, into consideration that he's the number 2 to Mike Evans, who arguably has the best 10-year stretch other than Jerry Rice in history. Right. We're talking 10 straight years of wide receiver 1 going over 1,000 yards receiving. Like, that's not easy to do. He was consistently right there. Like you said, if he doesn't get hurt most of those years, he'd be right up there.
Yeah, and you could look at that 2 different ways, right? You could say, well, Mike Evans is on the team, that's why he's having success. Well, if Mike Evans is having more success than him, it's obvious that Chris Godwin was forcing teams to really play that even as well. Like, you couldn't just completely shade or bracket Mike Evans because you had Chris Godwin on the other side. So definitely kind of, goes both ways for sure. So, yeah. So there's a little Chris Godwin talk. Again, that was one of my favorites for the right price, of course. as we've always talked about here. So another receiver that got brought up. Jacob, are you in a hurry? If we need to wrap up, you just tell me, okay? Or you just hop off. I'll finish.
I'm all right.
Good. All right. So I thought this was cool. 33rd team said some potential new wide receiver duos following the draft. So they put like Drake London with Matthew Golden. They put Nico Collins with Jalen Noel. They put George Pickens with Emeka Egbuka, Calvin Ridley with Luther Burden III. And they put our very own Jaden Reed with I'm trying to think. I had the name down earlier. Tetero is how you say it. Tetero McMillan. All right. How cool would that be if Tetero McMillan fell to the Packers at 23? I would run that card up there, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, he's in the number 7 spot for us, Jacob. And Dane Brugler has him at 7 as well. Daniel Jeremiah has him at 15. Kyle Krabs had him at 14. Like, everybody is going, yep, this is the dude. This is the wide receiver in this draft. How awesome would that be? Jaden Reed in the slot and Tetero McMillan out there on the edge.
God, that'd be insane. I mean, he's one of those players where I try not to even get excited about it because I just – second we see him go off the clock to some other team, and it's a team, of course, that I'm sure that I absolutely can't stand, that will just solidify that wide receiver group. But I mean, bro, you talk about me, I'd immediately buy the jersey. I'd immediately start the hype train. You know, it would be pretty awesome.
I've seen multiple people tweet this out, so I'm just going to let it roll a couple times. Where's it at? I know I tweeted it out. Here you go. Look at this catch right here.
Dude,
I'm zooming in. Look at this. Look at this. Somebody come look at this.
He
literally caught it backhanded, one-handed, and took it between his legs before he hit the ground. Like, yeah,
that'll work. That'll do.
Yeah, that'll do.
That'll do. So, big.
Wouldn't
that be funny? Back-to-back years, we went Arizona first-round draft picks.
That would be why I didn't even think about that. It's Pipeline with Jordan Morgan, isn't it? They probably played together. So that's very interesting. So, again, man, Jaden Reed, Tetero McMillan, highly unlikely that he falls to 23. But who knows, man? Drafts in Green Bay, he falls to 13 or 14. All of a sudden you hear there has been a trade, and everybody raises their Spotted Cow or their Miller Lite or whatever it is they're drinking. Their Schaefer Lite if you're balling on a budget like me, you know.
Schaefer Lite.
Yeah. Is it even a thing? And it can't be.
I haven't seen that in years.
Yeah, me neither, man. You could get like a case of that for $2.25 or something. You know what I mean? It was insane back in the day. It was like you could actually buy a case of Schaefer Light, sell the cans, and make money. You would come out ahead. You would profit. That's how cheap that stuff was. All right, so 3013 put this list out. Thought it was interesting. The winners of the combine this year. So they're saying Quinn Ewers showed up and showed out. Where is Quinn? He was really low on our board, man. Let's see. It's wild to think because going into the offseason, people were seeing him as possibly the top quarterback in the draft. He's in the 111 spot for us, Jacob. 111 right now. So they got Quinn Ewers out of Texas, wide receiver Matthew Golden out of Texas, Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State at wide receiver, Jalen Noel out of Iowa State, wide receiver, and then Dante Thornton Jr., wide receiver out of Tennessee that you talked about, just blazing 40. Did you say 6'5", Jacob? Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
That is 6'5" with 4.3 speed. Insane. Gray Zabel, offensive line. So now you're seeing Gray Zabel. Not only did he show up at the Senior Bowl, but now the dude has shown up at the combine as well, right? So I'm just telling you, man, it's something. That dude, his name is popping up everywhere you go, right? So definitely something to keep an eye on. Josh Connerly Jr. out of Oregon. You've got offensive lineman Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. You got defensive back out of South Carolina, Nick Emenwore. That's a safety, I believe. Jahdae Barron out of Texas, defensive back. Darian Porter, blazing 40-yard dash, if I remember correctly. Is he Iowa State as well?
Yep.
Damn, look at Iowa State, boys.
Yeah.
They're putting out the prospects. And then our boy Jahid Campbell on the Packers' radar. They met with him, linebacker out of Bama. James Pierce Jr., edge out of Tennessee. Shamar Stewart, edge out of Texas A&M. Landon Jackson, edge defender out of Arkansas.
Beast.
Donovan, say it for me, Jacob.
Ezeruku.
There you go. Edge defender out of BC. And then, of course, Ahmad
Hassanin?
Hassanin?
Hassanin, yeah. Which, by the way, I wanted to look him up. Him and Donovan. Donovan was a bit undersized, but dude, he graded out so well. And Ahmed as well had some kind of sneaky grades. Really, really impressed with those guys. And obviously, we talked about Landon Jackson, the dude that's supposedly anywhere from like 6'6" to 6'8", almost 300 pounds, but he ran like a 4. I think it was like a 4.6 or something. Like just insane.
Yeah. So there is your all combine team from this year's NFL Scouting Combine. Also, news of the day: Isaiah Bond, wide receiver out of Texas, he met with the Packers. Isaiah Bond is currently 126 on our PTA big board. Dane Brugler had him higher at 94 on his big board. So the Packers are interested in Isaiah Bond. You're seeing the Packers show a lot of interest in wide receivers this year, Jacob, for sure, man. What do you think about Isaiah Bond? How do you feel about that dude?
Yeah, he's interesting. Draft Buzz has him listed as a multi-role receiver. He ran a 4.39, which is pretty fast. He's just turned 20. He's 20.1 years old. That's kind of crazy. Not very great with the hand size, 8.5 inches. Weight, not great. Height, not the best. Arm size, not the best. But his 40 and his 10-yard split are almost elite. So he's a little bit undersized for sure, but it looks like that he's an absolute playmaker. That I'm not the biggest fan of his, but Draft Buzz has him overall as like their 6th wide receiver. So that's some people are thinking, yeah.
Got it. Mike Hebring in the chat with a super chat. Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate you, buddy. Good to see you tonight. He says, just for the record, Gray Zabel is my guy in round 1 to play center. Hey,
I like that.
If you can justify taking a center in the first round, no better way to justify it than a dude that can play in all 5 positions on the offensive line that he proved at the Senior Bowl. So that might make a lot of sense there, Mike. We're a little bit lower on him on our board. And again, it's not my personal opinion. It's just how he fell on the board. But we got Gray Zabel. Where was he? We talked about him earlier. Should be easier to find.
I said like 52 or something like that.
We got him at 52. Boy, he's got a lot of numbers on here too, though. That you feel a lot better when you don't see any blank boxes. Like, okay, we've got all the bases covered. So that's a solid 52 for us. Yeah, so he was the 155th graded at his position, which I think was tackle in 2022. He jumped all the way to 24th in 2023. Then he jumped all the way to 5th in 2024. So check the box, incremental growth. PFF grade was high. PFF Big Board had him in the 39 spot early in the process. Consensus Big Board had him at 74. So that's what's pulling him down on our board up to this point. Daniel Jeremiah had him in the 48 spot. So he would think that 23 is a little rich there, unless you traded back a little later in the first round, maybe. He did get the 5-point Senior Bowl bonus. Obviously, he balled out. 33rd team had him in the 89 spot. Dane Brugler had him at 38. So if you were to look at our 3 kind of scouting advisors between DJ, Kyle Krabs, and Dane Brugler was the highest on him, and he was at 38. So I don't know, man. If they take him in the first round, Mike, it's probably one of those players, and the Packers have a little bit of precedent for this. One of those players, Jacob, that at the last second they start to rise like crazy. That was Quay Walker. Packers like going to get him. Could be the case. What do you think about Gray Zabel in the first round, man?
I'd completely be okay with it. That's honestly, it's been my I have to get out of these patterns I've been doing with my mock drafts, because basically they simulates down to 23. I see like 5 to 6 dudes that I'm okay with, like within the next 10 picks. I hit that trade button. I drop down maybe 3 to 5 picks to see Gray Zabel there, and I'm like, yep. And I just click it and go. And
outside of the 3rd round, your draft is always the same, ain't it?
Yeah,
like, that's my guy. That's my guy. Yeah. I understand. That's why it's important to try to jump around on other websites too. But you get some, like the other day, I think it was Draft Buzz, right?
The Draft Buzz mock it's not even. It's somebody needs to be fired. Like, it's so bad.
Those people are hitting the pipe. Put the pipe down. Matter of fact, I think we got a sound drop for that now, man. If I can find it here, I know it's here somewhere.
Could be a crackhead that got hold to the wrong stuff.
Could be a crackhead got hold to the wrong draft board. That's what that was. So, Mike, thank you for the super chat, man. That's very, very interesting comment. I'm eager to see if anybody sees him as a first round, because there's rumors about that. So I heard I can't remember who it was. Someone said top 20. I went, damn. All right, let's go. So Gray Zabel is skyrocketing, but yeah, we'll see where he ends up for sure. Brandon Ayuk, obviously the 49ers are trying to shop him around like crazy, right? It sounds like it anyway. I said, Packer fans, what would you be willing to trade for wide receiver Brandon Ayuk? Jacob, these 33 comments, I would just about venture to say that at least 25 of them said, I don't want him for anything. Not doing it. It kind of surprised me because Packer fans are usually like wide receiver crazy. And if we look at his PFF grades, 80, 75, 78, 91, and 74. And correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Goody going to take him? Didn't the 49ers jump up and grab him before Goody, if I remember correctly?
I believe that is correct.
And that was the year we took Love, right? We settled for Love because they wanted Ayuk, but the Niners took him right before. So I don't know, man. What do you think? And I looked up his contract earlier too. Let me give you this. Let me give you the full script here so you can make a decision on whether you would do it or not. He's still under contract for 1, 2, 3, 4 years. Okay. So the cap hit this year is $11.1 million. Now, if you look at just how the proration bonus, the option proration, it'd be 1.1 plus 4.5. So it'd be 5, 6. To me, it looks like his cap hit, if the Packers took him on this year, I don't think the proration accelerates because there's not just 1 year left on the deal. I think you would just pick that up all the way around. The optional proration travels for the most part is what we're seeing. At least that's the new thing in contractual obligations across the NFL right now. His workout bonus, $100,000. I'm trying to see here. Roster GM, his signing bonus. It looks like all the stuff that they kicked out was with voidable years. So maybe another $13 million would accelerate into that contract and it would just spread out evenly over the 3 years. If that were the case, 13 over 3 would be 6 plus that. So it's probably the $11 million. So if this contract sits the way it is, Jacob, and I'm reading it correctly, his cap hit would be $11.1 million. Okay, this year. It jumps to 16.2 next year. And then 2027, it jumps all the way to 42.2, but the majority of the guaranteed money's gone. So people are looking at the contract like that's too much money. That's too much money. I mean, you're looking at 11.1 and 16.2, if I'm reading it correctly, unless the voided aspect of the option proration would accelerate to the current year for the team that's absorbing the contract. Does that make sense? So I guess here's the best way to ask you. How much money are you willing to pay and what kind of draft compensation? Or do you not even want him? That could be the answer too.
I personally don't want him.
Okay.
It's not necessary. I think he's a great player. I think that he will bounce back. I'm cheap and I don't want to pay anywhere near 15, 16, 20 million towards a receiver that, again, he's trying to get off of a team that's a great team. He's had injuries. He's getting around to be older, not quite up to the 30-year mark, but he's hovering. To me, I'd just rather draft, man.
Okay. Gotcha. And it looks like who is this? It said there 2-0 for this says Ayuk has had one good year and then got hurt. I mean, the PFF grades aren't saying that. Let me look real quick just to double check because you may be 100% correct there 2-0 for this. Let me hop back over to NFL Pro. And let me pull up his statistics. So we're obviously talking about the 49ers. Let's go to stats. See if we can get Brandon Ayuk's career stats here. So let's see what he's actually done. Starting in 2020, he had, where are you at, sir? 748 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's his rookie year. 826 and 5 touchdowns the second year. 2022, 1,015 with 8 touchdowns. 2023, 1,342 with 7 touchdowns. So targets around 114 to 105. And then, of course, last year he got hurt and he only played in 7 games last year. So if you're telling me we could get a 1,300-yard receiver with 7 tutters, couple that with our boy Jaden Reed, I don't mind it at $11 million. Now, what's the draft compensation? If it's a 4th or a 5th round pick, I wouldn't mind it. But like many people were saying on Twitter, it sounded like there was some drama too. It wasn't just Debo that had drama. I think Brandon Ayuk had a little drama last year too. So if that's the case, that ain't going to fly in Green Bay, obviously. So there you go. Brandon Ayuk, anything else you want to add there, man?
No, I'm just yeah, I don't know who it was in the chat said, Packer fan here. He goes, if Jacob can't field the team with $20, he doesn't want it. Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm a
you gotta have
draft and
drinking
develop
money.
type person.
You
Yeah.
gotta be able to buy a pack of smokes. You know what I'm saying, man? You gotta have that little spending money around the block. So yeah, I'm all about paying players what they're worth, but never overpaying for anything other than great. You'll overpay for great, but don't overpay for good. Don't overpay for solid or above average or whatever. As Ben Holden says, Godwin is the man. That's the one I feel like if you're going to overpay a little bit, that makes a lot of sense. It does. But again, if Tetero McMillan falls to you at 23, if you said, Clayton, you got a time machine, all right, it's a DeLorean, all right. if you could go in time, in the future and go, okay, here's what's going to happen in the draft, and Tetero McMillan is going to drop, I would say stand pat and draft him, hands down. But not knowing if he's going to be there, are you just going to go into the season with a second or a third round wide receiver? That's Goody's MO. They've done pretty damn good drafting wide receivers in the second round for sure. So, no.
Yeah.
Anybody else you want to look at here on the draft board before we wrap up, man? I think we've covered everything.
I actually did have maybe just a couple if you got a couple minutes.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
All right. So I was looking for, you guys know I love late round steals, bargain bin type stuff, specifically at the quarterback position. I came around a guy. His name is Elijah Huzzy, spelled Alijah.
Yep, we got him right here. As a matter of fact,
out of UNC. Yep.
We got him in the 261 spot. Okay. And the reason being is PFF grade in 2023 was a 266. 2024 it was a 209. The PFF big board had him at 147. The consensus big board had him all the way at 332 at the end of the college football season. Okay. So since then, he may have skyrocketed up boards. We're going to keep ours the same. That's why we've got him at 261. Are you thinking that maybe that 2022 grade, that might be the real Huzzy there? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking. I mean, he had 807 snaps in 2022. He was an 84.9, which was the 22nd cornerback ranking. 2023, he went to 73.3. 2024, 74.2. So never really had a bad year. A little bit undersized at 5'10", 195, but I just thought that, if he's in that fourth, fifth, sixth round even, that'd be a great guy to take a stab at.
Yeah. All right.
One more, at least. Cam Horsley, defensive tackle out of Boston College. This one, I really don't know how he's not ranked higher on most boards. Where did you guys got him?
We've got him, if I'm looking at this correctly, in the 284 spot. Now, the Packers did meet with him out of Boston College at the East-West Shrine Bowl, I believe. So the reason he's in that 284 spot, in 2022, he was the 293rd best defensive lineman. In 2023, he jumped to 199. In 24, he jumped all the way to 54. So that 54 helped a lot. PFF big board had him at 179. The consensus big board is really what's hurting him, Jacob. At the end of the college football season, the consensus big board had him at 356. So here's the thing. If Daniel Jeremiah has him in his top 150, that'll help. If 33rd team ends up at the top 150, that'll help. Dane Brugler, same thing. And then if he ends up testing, he hasn't tested yet, right? Am I thinking right? Or maybe he had an incomplete possibly.
Yeah, I don't know if he's doing like one of those at the facility type things. I didn't see much from him at the actual combine.
Got it. So, yeah, I mean, he could help himself here. If he ends up in the top 150 amongst those three, then I could see him climbing up within the top 200 for us.
I mean, because I just look at the way he grades out here. He has predominantly B gap, but he did play a considerable amount on A gap. He's 6'4", 300 plus pounds, almost had an 80 grade. And his pass rush win rate, for being a big boy isn't great at 7.9, but that's not really what you're asking him to do. His pass rush grade was a 68.2, which again, that's pretty good. But his run defense grade is an 84.5, and his run stop percentage rate was 14.4. So the guy, and he had his best game against Michigan State as an 82.8 this last year. So I just thought.
So how did he? I wonder how he graded out so bad, right? I mean, no, would you say it was 80 something, right?
80. So he was a 79.8 in 2024.
Okay, Yeah.
So,
But in 23, what was he again with that 199? What was he?
72.5 and 2022 was a 70.2.
That's not like horrible, right? So
No, he's gotten better every year.
yeah, that's a good point. Keep an eye on Horse. Hey, it's obvious that the Packers are interested, man. We get the cheese emoji next to him there. So
Yep.
who else you got? You got a
Real
few
quick would be Elijah Alston, ELIJAHALSTON, edge defender out of Miami.
Got it. So we got Elijah Alston. The Packers did meet with him. All right. He's an edge defender. In 2022, he was 684th at his position in PFF. Then he jumped all the way to 4th in 2023. In 2024, he dropped back to 72nd. So we've got him in the 235 spot on our board. PFF Big Board had him at 213. Once again, the consensus Big Board had him at 363. So both of these players you're mentioning, if you remove the consensus Big Board at the end of the college football season where they had him ranked, they would be much higher on our board, man, no doubt.
Yeah, that just to me screams Goot. 2023, he played 13 games, had 5 sacks, bunch of hits and hurries, batted a couple balls down, a 91.3, guys. That's impressive. And even this last year, he was an 81 flat, played 8 games, so there must be a little bit of an injury, something there going on. But his 2 best games was against Florida with an 85.2 and ended the year with a 92 grade against Iowa State. So a little bit promising, I think, there. The only thing I look at him is he's a little bit undersized for what the Packers usually do. He's 6'2", 256, redshirt senior, so that may be pulling him down as well.
Mm-hmm. Got it. All right, who else, man?
Last one that I just wanted to touch on quick was a guy we kind of mentioned already, but Clay Webb, the guard out of Jacksonville State.
Mm-hmm. Got him. We got him in the 115 spot on our board.
115, really?
Yeah, 115. Obviously performed at the Senior Bowl. I don't think the Packers have met with him to this point. Doesn't mean they're not interested, though. 2022, he was 13th at his position. 2023, 3rd. 2024, 9th. PFF Big Board had him at 202. The consensus Big Board had him at 241. And he did get the RAS bonus, so he finished in the 9s. RAS. So
talk about a guy that's graded out well. Obviously, a smaller school, so you want him to do that. But you look at the size and the skill. He's 6'3", 290. He let 3 sacks his whole career in college go, only 3 hits and only 7 hurries total. He played every single snap other than one time at left tackle in 2022. All of his snaps have been at left guard. So if it's a situation where, depending on how the chips fall, if we could plug and play a guy like that at left guard, if we have to switch Elton to center, whatever the case may be, it's nice to have a guy like that as a little bit of backup.
Yeah, for sure. And just looking at where we're drafting at too, if he's sitting there at pick 123, that make a lot of sense, Jacob. A lot of sense. So that would that would kind of be your guard, your mid-round guard pick. I'm thinking like a TJ Lang, somebody like that, right, from back in the day. So It's interesting. Yeah, Clay Webb, someone to keep an eye on for sure. So if we were to resort the board here by overall value, just to give you guys an update, because I know Isaiah Bond got it. I don't think he's that high on our board, but the top prospects that the Packers have shown interest in the 10 spot, James Pierce Jr., edge out of Tennessee. In the 15 spot, Colston Loveland, tight end. Let me do this, make it a little easier, actually, so you guys can actually see the names here. Number 15, tight end, Colston Loveland out of Michigan. Number 16, Kenneth Grant, defensive lineman out of Michigan. Jahdae Barron, a versatile corner out of Texas in the 17 spot. Packers have met with him. Jahad Campbell, linebacker out of Alabama in the 22 spot. Packers have met with him. Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss in the 24 spot. The Packers have met with him. Donovan Ezaraku, however you say the name, edge defender out of Boston College in the 30 spot. The Packers have met with him. What should that be the pick this year? That one right there be the pick.
I love that guy. He's just undersized. He's a little bit 6'2" again. So
Matthew Golden obviously helped himself at the combine. We got him in the 37 spot, and the Packers met with him as well. So if you're looking at just like potential first round talent on our board, you got 1 edge, 1 D lineman, right? 1 linebacker, 1 corner, 1 tight end, 2 D linemen, 2 edges. So it's D-line and edge leading the way. but also a tight end and a corner that the Packers have shown interest in. So that's going to be really interesting to see if they have any other visits. They're going to have a bunch of visits. I think we're going to have the top 30 visits. We'll put a lot of merit in that. We're going to get the threshold down as well and try to get you guys the top targets for the Packers. What we mean by that is everything lines up. All the starters line up. Last year, there were, once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, only 6 players out of over 250 players on our board. Only 6 met all the criteria as one of the Packers' favorite players, right? Those players were running back, sweet baby Ray Davis out of Kentucky. We had Hall Jr., Michael Hall Jr. out of, I'm trying to see, man, I'm getting old, Jacob. I am getting old.
Wasn't he out of Michigan, I thought?
No, I can't see what the name says there.
Or no, Michael Hall was, I thought he was Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State. That's it. Yeah. It's such small written right in here. Defensive tackle Michael Hall Jr. out of Ohio State. We have Marshawn Nealon, edge defender out of Western Michigan.
Yeah.
We had Austin Booker, edge defender out of Kansas. And then we had our very own Katan Oladapo out of Oregon State. So one of the 6 players that we had listed here, the Packers drafted. And the other guy, actually, I was wrong. Tyron Hopper.
Hey.
So we got 2. We literally labeled 6 players on our board that said, these are the 6 that the Packers are most likely to draft. And we got 2 of them. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty good, man.
Yeah. If I don't know if you can gamble on any player being picked, but if we come down to this and there's less than 10, and you know how those odds are on those players. Like this player,
dude, I bet you there's a book somewhere that does that. We should try to find that out. Let's all pull together.
Is it a legal book? That's the question. If it is, you're right, Jacob.
Nah, dude, my cousin Vinny knows a guy.
He knows a guy who knows a guy who's still in the clink, but he knows a guy. So, that would be fun if we could find a book that we could put a bet down and say, okay, let's say we got 8 players this year, and it's plus 15,000 for them to go to the Packers. You know what I'm saying,
dude? There's got to be a legal way to do it too.
Get on
it. If not, we got to make some calls, man, because we can make an app, have Tim develop a little app, and then all of a sudden, hey,
Tim over there, I don't develop apps. What are you talking about?
Well, hey, Will, he should.
He should. It's good money in it.
Yeah.
There's some of the will. That would be fun. We need to do that. Don't let me forget that. All right. We got to run down the thresholds again. I want to say it was it Packer Wire? I think it was Packer Wire that does it every year. They got the thresholds that kind of shows the players that meet those thresholds. Really cool draft guide. So we'll try to run that down. So, there you go. Anything else, man? Anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
No, I think that'll be good, man.
A-Fam says baggy pants bookie. That's right, man. That's the one.
Yeah. No, I'm good. I'm ready to are you expecting to have maybe some contract stuff happening in the near future, or what are you thinking?
It's very interesting because that window opened around the 25th and we have no restructures. To me, it feels like now he could have some restructures. Like I guarantee you he's got a blueprint, he being Goody, of potential restructures he could work out that the player will go, hell yeah, I'll take more guaranteed money. But right now you don't need the cap space. So I'm wondering if he's looking at it like, let's go into free agency. And Brian Gutekunst can be like, all right, let's go after this player, and this player. Okay, he accepts. Cool. We got the money to carry it right now. Sign him, then do the restructure. And if for some reason, if he takes a swing at 1, 2, maybe 3 free agents and they don't accept the offer, stay pat and don't restructure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. In
the past, it kind of felt like where they had kicked the can down the road and you obviously had to carry the Aaron Rodgers cap penalty of whatever it was, $40 million. And then last year it was like $20 million in dead cap. Kind of felt like you had to structure yourself just to have money to play with. But I'm just wondering if Goody's looking at it a little bit different this year. Like, you know what? Let's don't guarantee all that money because like we've talked about on the show many times, if a player gets hurt and the money ain't guaranteed, you're getting that salary check back, and you're saving on cap. So he may be looking at it that way. Does that answer your question? Was that what you were asking?
Yeah.
Okay. Because again, I kind of expected it because you could roll cap over, go ahead and free some cap up. If you need it, great. If not, roll it over. But it seems like Goody's if he's going to do it, he's waiting a little longer than he normally does. But guys, we're 7 days away from free agency, man. As we got it right here, March 10th, right? March 10th, free agency negotiation period begins. And then March 12th is when they can actually sign. So March 10th starts the legal tampering period, right? So players can be recruited and obviously take offers, and they can agree to the offer, but the contract cannot become official and valid until the 12th. So we're 7 days away, ladies and gents. 7 days away. Anything else, Jacob?
No, man, I'm excited. Let's go.
All right. That's it, guys. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us, man. This was a lot of fun. We will be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central, for more PTA Live. Who knows? We might get another signing, as obviously we had the news tonight of Isaiah McDuffie signing a 2-year extension with the Packers for somewhere between $8 to $9.5 million, depending on how the incentives will fall. So, Jake, appreciate your time, but it's always fun talking ball with you, man.
Yes, sir. Go Pack, go.
Right. Shout out to Mike Hebring. Thank you for the super chat, pal. We'll see y'all tomorrow night. Everybody have a great night. Hit that like button on the way out.
And we go.
We're out. Bye, guys.